She had everything money could buy: private jets, penthouses, silence. But when the waiter slid a folded note beside her steak, her hands began to shake, because it mentioned the one secret no one was supposed to know: the restaurant was expensive in a quiet way. No loud music. No flashy signs. Just low lights, white tablecloths, and people who spoke softly because they were used to being heard anywhere else. The woman sat alone near the window, dressed simply in a dark coat that hid the truth of her wealth. Her hair was tied back, her face calm, almost unreadable. To everyone else, she was just another customer. No one knew she owned companies worth billions. No one knew she hadn't eaten dinner with another human being in months. Her name was Elena Hart. On paper, she was one of the most powerful women in the country. In reality, she was painfully alone. She ordered the steak medium rare, the same thing she always ordered when she didn't want to think. Food had become routine, like breathing. Necessary, tasteless, emotionless. She came to this restaurant not for luxury, but because no one here asked questions. The waiter approached her table. His movements were careful, polite, practiced. He looked tired, but not careless. His shirt was neatly pressed, though the cuffs were slightly worn. His name tag read Daniel. "Would you like anything else with your steak?" he asked. Elena shook her head gently. "No. Thank you." Their eyes met for less than a second, but something passed between them. Not attraction. Recognition. A kind of quiet sadness that doesn't need words. Daniel was a single father. He worked double shifts. His mornings were school lunches and missing socks. His nights were exhaustion and silent prayers that tomorrow would be easier. He noticed things most people missed, like how Elena never touched her phone, how she stared at the table before ordering, how her hands tightened just a little when she said, "Thank you." When he returned with her plate, he placed it down carefully. The steak was perfect. Juicy. Expensive, but Elena didn't eat. She cut a small piece, lifted it to her mouth, then froze. Daniel had slipped something under the edge of her plate. A folded note. Her heart skipped. For a moment, fear flashed through her. In her world, notes meant threats, leaks, betrayals. Slowly, carefully, she picked it up. It was written in simple handwriting: "You don't have to finish the steak if you're only here to survive the evening." Her breath caught. No one had spoken to her like that in years. She looked up. Daniel was across the room, pretending to wipe a table, but his eyes flicked toward her just once. Not intrusive. Not demanding. Just concerned. Elena unfolded the note further. "Some people sit alone not because they want to be alone, but because being known hurts more." Her vision blurred. She hadn't cried in public since her father died. She hadn't cried at boardrooms, funerals, or courtrooms. But this simple note from a stranger, cracked something open inside her. She pushed the plate away. When Daniel returned, she finally spoke. "How did you know?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. Then shrugged. "Because you look like someone who has learned how to be strong instead of how to be happy." The words hit harder than any headline ever had. She left that night without dessert. Without wine. But she left something else behind, her isolation. She came back the next evening, and the next, always alone. Always ordering the steak. And always, Daniel noticed she ate a little more each time, but neither of them knew. The note he slipped would soon change both of their lives forever. When Elena finally revealed who she really was, Daniel thought he had lost her forever, until she handed him the same note he once slipped under her plate. Weeks passed. Elena and Daniel began talking. Not about money. Not about power. About life. About exhaustion. About missing people who were still alive but unreachable. She never told him who she was. And he never asked. For the first time in years, Elena felt seen without being studied. One night, Daniel didn't show up. The next night, still nothing. On the third night, Elena asked the manager, "Is Daniel okay?" The manager sighed. "His kid's sick. Hospital bills. He took time off. Might not come back." Something inside Elena twisted. The following morning, she stood in a hospital hallway holding a coffee she didn't remember buying. She had found Daniel's last name on the schedule. Found the hospital through quiet calls no one questioned. Daniel looked up when he saw her and froze. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "I wanted to be," she replied. They sat in silence outside his child's room. Machines beeped softly. "Life felt fragile and real. I never thanked you," Elena said, pulling a folded piece of paper from her coat. She slid it toward him. It was the same note, the one he had written. "I kept it," she whispered. "On the nights I didn't think I mattered." Daniel's eyes filled. That was the moment Elena told him the truth, who she was. What she owned. How lonely wealth could be. He stood up slowly. "I think you should go," he said. "People like you don't stay." She nodded. "You're right. People like me usually don't." She left. A week later, Daniel received a letter. Not a check. Not a contract. An offer. Elena had created a foundation in his child's name. Medical bills covered. A scholarship. A job offer, not as charity, but as partnership. At the bottom of the letter was a handwritten line. "You once reminded me I didn't have to survive alone. Please let me return the favor." Months later, Daniel returned to the restaurant. Elena was there. Not undercover this time. Still simple. Still real. She ordered the steak. This time, she finished it, and when Daniel smiled, she realized something powerful. Sometimes, the smallest note can change the richest life, and sometimes, the loneliest billionaire doesn't need more money, just someone brave enough to see them. Final message: loneliness doesn't care how rich or poor you are. Kindness doesn't ask for permission. And one quiet moment of understanding can rewrite an entire life.